Donk Nation, Jackson, Janet's greetings, and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, keeping it nonsensical in the offseason, keeping it loosely based Steelers talk. But really, Gingy, welcome back once again, but not much to talk about Steeler land. Unless
Gingy
you
in the
like
house.
fourth string tight ends.
Well, yeah, we can talk about that, but yeah, limited movement this week. Just big movement around the NFL, though, right?
Yes. Yes.
Probably something to talk about there.
Yes, let's start there. Two teams that I love what they're doing. The Buffalo Bills, after losing a lot of talent, realized things might not be going exactly their way. They're tearing it down, quite frankly, over there. Look at the players they lost, cutting Tre'Davious White, letting Poyer go. And now a big trade of Stephon Diggs, where they're taking a $31 million cap hit this year. But when you think about what that could mean going into future years, maybe it is time for them to hit a reset as they haven't been able to get over the hill that is Kansas City. And on the other side, you have the Houston Texans, while giving up a second rounder here, going all in when their window has opened up. Gingy, I love both sides of this trade for two totally different reasons.
Yeah, hey, I mean, both teams are doing what they need to do for them, right? That's how it's got to go. I mean, Stephon was allegedly becoming a distraction over there in Buffalo, dissatisfied with the number of touches, different ways that he was managed, allegedly.
He's a wide receiver who didn't get thrown the ball 20 times a game. Of course he's upset. Name me one wide receiver who isn't crying about their touches in the modern day NFL.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, trust me, we've seen a couple recently, have we not?
We had two of them on our team last year.
Si, senor. Yeah. So yeah, Donkey, but I mean, kudos to the Texans. They're putting a wagon together down there, aren't they?
They are 100% sold that they hit the bank with CJ Stroud, and they have done it the way you should do it, in my opinion. When you have the window, you have to go all in. You have to sign big money difference makers. You have to try to acquire top tier talent for a second round pick. Let's be honest here. I mean, I know Diggs is going to cost some money, and I believe they restructured the contract. So if it doesn't work out, he's only there for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the type of thing you have to do when you have no money spent in the quarterback room, is you have to bring in guys like Danielle Hunter, who's an absolute difference maker on the defensive line. A guy like Stephon Diggs, who, let's not act like he still wasn't great last year. The dude had an amazing season last year. After the offensive coordinator got fired mid-season, his touches did go down. But this is a Texans team that last year was scary. You have to remember they lost their number 2 receiver in Tank Dell before the playoffs and still really gave some good fights. This is a team that potentially just got a lot better and is. As a Steelers fan, I hate it because the AFC landscape is not getting easier. You have the Jets going out and having probably the best free agent class. You have the Texans going absolutely all in. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs. You have Baltimore still being Baltimore. Cincinnati getting Burrow back. Cleveland looking like they improved their roster. You have, in my opinion, the Raiders being better. I don't know if they're really a threat, but I think they might have moved themselves into the Steeler tier to talk about. You have the Chargers resetting with a coach that's really never lost in the NFL. You have Miami trying to stay healthy this year. Gingy, while I love what the Texans did, I absolutely hate it from a Steeler perspective.
AFC's rough, right? But hopefully we're able to make a difference in our quarterback room. Some game changers hopefully landed in there, eh, Donkey?
I'd love to see it, but at this point, quarterback wasn't my biggest fear. Defensive line, we did address a little bit with Lowry, but offensive line, Ginger, you cannot tell me Dan Moore Jr. is going to be starting next year. And if he is, I'm scared. But the scarier part to me right now is it's Dan Moore Jr. and Nate Herbig, the big bro Herbig, both starting. I hear the Steelers, they know what they want to do in the draft. They know what they want to do in this. Yeah, I heard that too when we had Roethlisberger. And boy, we took a big double swing and a miss. As a
Yeah,
matter
we'll
of
have to.
fact, Gingy, who was the last Pittsburgh Steeler offensive lineman drafted by the Steelers to sign an extension and play out their extension?
Bouncy.
Good guess. Go guy who played right beside him, though.
DeCastro.
David DeCastro will be the last Steeler to do that, drafted as an offensive lineman. So I think I'm allowed to be pessimistic when you're going to tell me the Steelers are going to hit it with offensive linemen in the draft.
Where did we take DeCastro at? Do you remember what number
First
that
round.
was? Yeah, first
20s?
round. Do you remember what was it?
Somewhere in the 20s, I think.
Uh,
You go ahead and talk to me about the offensive line, and I will get you that number real quick.
I just needed to hear that there was some hope that you could land a lineman in the 20s. See, for me, drafting in the first round in the 20s, that's purgatory in and of itself right there, right? Because you've still got to bank on some value off that first round, but lot of guys off the board at 20. Donkey. A lot of guys off the board at 20.
24th.
Yeah. See, that's good hope.
But
I like
that's
that.
where you can get offensive guards. We've always seen that. You can allegedly get centers there too. But offensive guards normally fall to that spot. My bigger problem is they need a tackle, and they need a day one starting tackle. I don't know if you find that late in the round. And we're banking a lot on Broderick Jones taking that next leap forward, which I told you I loved him. Yeah, I told you I loved him when we drafted him.
I
still do,
on that.
But I have a big problem here. And this is what it is. Either Dan Moore Jr. stays as your starter and Broderick Jones plays at right tackle, in which case I don't guarantee you a big step forward because he's learning a new position. And or do you move Broderick Jones over to left tackle? He has to relearn. But let's not forget, last year he didn't get to work on his left tackle technique because we were too busy playing him on the right side. I'm a little nervous that we stunted the growth of Broderick Jones by forcing him in at right tackle. And let's not forget, there have been plenty of guys who have started as a left tackle, got switched to right tackle, and never moved back to left tackle again because they weren't adequate enough when they went back to the position. You can look at guys all over the NFL that has happened to. I'd say the most recent one in my head is probably Morgan Moses, who, by the way, is a fantastic right tackle if I got the right person I'm thinking about.
Yeah, Donkey, what you're talking about, not entirely all out of the question. Hey?
And let's not act like the Steelers haven't screwed up the development of offensive linemen before. Remember when we switched Dotson from right to left side and said, it's no big deal? And then he sucked, and then we traded him, and the Rams put him back at his natural spot, and all of a sudden he was a stud again?
Yeah, I'm
sorry, but playing Broderick Jones out of position is one of the things that upset me last year and has me concerned going into this offseason, that they're going to continue to play him at the wrong position because of Dan Moore Jr.
I 100% agree with that, Donkey. Spot on. Broderick Jones needs to move back to left. I think you'd see the exact same mistake made twice in a row with that. If that continues to play out as it is playing out currently.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm watching these teams in this AFC get just vastly better, Gingy, and it makes me nervous because the Steelers didn't go all in. We didn't sign any big-time difference makers. We signed a middle linebacker who, in my opinion, is a solid player, but you could have had someone very similar skill set for a lot less money, and like Devin White or Bobby Wagner. We signed quarterbacks who is a very good game manager, but hasn't been a difference maker, in my opinion, maybe the early part of his career. But I don't know if I'd even say that. We have a potential difference maker in Justin Fields, but thus far in his career, the only difference he has made has been the wrong direction.
He runs well.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about the direction of this team because it seems like we're not all in, but we're definitely not rebuilding. And I don't know in the modern day NFL landscape if you can afford to be halfway in. Like, you look at these teams, even Buffalo looks like they're just rebuilding. The Chargers look like they're just rebuilding. The Chiefs are obviously going to be all in until Mahomes proves he can't be all in. Baltimore's all in. Cincinnati's all in. Cleveland's all in. Miami's all in. Houston's all in. Jacksonville's all in. Indianapolis is all in. You see why I get a little nervous when you have all these teams pushing everything into the table, and we're here just hoping to not have to say all in a hand of Texas Hold'em?
Yeah, that doesn't look good, Donkey. I agree. There's a lot of competitive teams in the AFC. Again, the recipe for me has always been the same for the Steelers. What am I going to say, Donkey?
Run the ball and play defense. Blah, blah, blah,
Big,
blah, blah.
big turnovers, running the ball.
Right, splash
we have
plays.
a formula. We have a
play defense
we
is
have a
splash
personnel. We have a personnel in place to run that formula. That could plausibly run that formula.
Strong disagree. Where's the splash on the defense?
TJ Watt.
Right. Okay, so we're relying purely on TJ staying healthy again into his 30s. That's not a good recipe for success based off Watt history.
Not a consistent one, but literally when he has played, we win, and when he doesn't, we don't. So moving Minka back into his natural position might. We're just counting him out like he's a lost cause, right, Donkey? He had some very
I'm counting
valuable
him as
production.
an average safety.
Well,
in 3 years in Pittsburgh, I think that's very fair to say because he had one good season and 5 average seasons so far in his NFL career.
Yeah, I'd like to see Splat. He definitely's had better seasons than last season. There was definitely less impact.
Last season was below average. He's had average NFL seasons most of his career with one good season. Remember, he's a guy Miami was willing to move on from pretty easily because, well, he didn't get along with the coach, but really his production hadn't met the draft capital they spent on him because wasn't he like the 7th? He was a top 15 pick. We'll just go that way.
Yep.
And the production hasn't met it. Well, Joey Porter Jr., he does a good job of slowing down receivers. He's the same thing he struggled with in college. He just doesn't turn the ball over. And you really need, in the NFL, guys who turn the ball over. You need guys like Bland down there in Dallas. It's no surprise their defense got a lot worse when they lost a playmaking cornerback. You need a L'Jarius Sneed like Kansas City had. You know, you need those ball hawkers. Geno Stone did it last year in Baltimore, and I believe he signed with Cincinnati or Cleveland. It was one of the other two. But you need those guys who turn the ball over, make those big plays, and make that difference. And I'm a little nervous because while we did spend a lot of money, I don't know if we addressed any of that.
Well, we haven't yet, Donkey. I don't believe so. But we have filled hopefully some other places, right? I'd like to see a scheme get in place here that really maybe gets us first round value out of Najee Harris. I see a world where that exists.
Okay, I hear ya, but I don't see it. I just don't see it because we're going to disagree here on absolutely what first round value is for a running back, and that's what's going to be the big differentiator here. And I think at the end, I'll say my part. You could say your counter. I think it's going to be agree to disagree. Najee Harris, to me, does not have explosive capabilities. Yeah, he could have a 1,300, 1,400, 4 to 4.5 yards per carry average with 7 to 8 touchdowns in the season, maybe even 10. But I don't think that's a first-round running back. I don't think that is. A first-round running back is that guy who makes those game-changing plays. Like Christian McCaffrey, 40-yard screen pass. Saquon Barkley, 80-yard touchdown run. When Tennessee was good at this, don't forget Derrick Henry led the NFL in carries for more than 50-plus yards. Those are the type of guys who are first-round talent running backs. I think Najee could have a great season. I just think he still is a third, fourth round value with what his great season numbers would look like.
Well, yeah, you and I would have to disagree on that. In terms of production, he has some of the highest production in Steeler history to this point for his career, doesn't he?
Volume, but his volume doesn't even touch Lev Bell. So out of the two highest volume backs in Steelers history, he falls behind Lev Bell. In terms of per touch production, he's behind James Conner.
Right, the per touch production is where the main criticism lies at the
And that's
efficiency
what matters
of this running back. Yeah,
and yes,
yeah.
availability is the reason we had to move on from James Conner. I get that, but availability is a huge part. But at the same time,
His
being
availability's
available
there.
isn't everything. You still
It's
have to
not
be
everything.
productive.
I agree, 100%. Still have to be productive. Availability is a big plus, but again, that average is low. I think because you're missing out on some of those big open field plays. That average goes real quick if you bust a 35-yarder, 40-yarder, right? And perhaps we're in a day and era and a scheme where he might be able to do that. I don't see that as super far fetched or a fantasy donkey.
All right, I got one name I'm going to name for you, Gingy. Raheem Mostert, where does he rank for you in terms of running backs?
Raheem Mostert, yeah, he just got a deal from Miami, didn't he?
That's where he played last year, yeah.
Well, what do you mean in terms of like where does he rank?
If you were to round value his production, where would you put him?
Round value his production?
Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, we could get first round production out of Najee Harris. What was Mostert's production?
That's high second and low first round production.
All right, I hear you on that. That guy averaged over 5.5 yards a carry, I believe, and scored almost 20 touchdowns last year.
I
don't see a world
the average
where
is
Najee Harris
right now?
gets
4.2 without the big pop offs, right? How many big pop offs did Mostert have? 20 or plus, right? The issue with Najee is he's got good
touches.
low floor, no high ceiling. Good low floor, no high ceiling. Needs to blow the ceiling off it.
The problem with Najee Harris, and he showed it the last 2 years when he's dealt with foot and leg injuries, and everyone says that's what slowed him down. The problem with Najee Harris is he's a high usage back that's already 3 years into being highly used. The expectation of that to improve is very, very unlikely to happen. I can go back and show you all these backs that had 2, 3, 4 good years, and then the wheels fell off because you just can't take that kind of pounding year in, year out, year in, year out. If we're going to give him 25, 30 touches a game, I think it's going to be worse. I think you're going to see the per touch production go down because, honestly, Gingy, if you're playing the Steelers, why the hell would you not have 8 men in the box right now?
Has he known anything but a Matt Canada run offense aside from half the season last year or a quarter, whatever?
He was with. Let's see. No, I don't believe so because this is his 4th year. So no, he has not known anything but a Matt Canada.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
But you can also. Yeah, I hear you on that, but don't forget, Matt Canada was actually an above-average run-play design person. His passing game is what sucked. No, his passing game was terrible. His running game was
there's tape
fine.
on us last year of him. Oh man, we trashed.
Now we did run the same play over and over.
We trashed some of the schemes that we saw, like especially in the red zone, trying to run the football. We were doing all kinds of fancy dances and stuff, and gosh.
You can't run the ball in the red zone, and especially when you have a 220-pound twinkle toes running back. Let's not act like Najee Harris running and bouncing every run outside wasn't a huge part of the red zone problems.
Why?
And the fact that
why did that stop after he left? Then
it didn't. We still
the only time
in the red zone.
Well, maybe not the red zone, but I'm thinking the twinkle toe, the 240 twinkle toes, right? I've seen much less of that in the latter half of last season.
Gingy, I'm going to explain this to you. Najee Harris's vision sucks. You want to know why he got better the last 2 games? Look at Seattle, look at Cincinnati, and tell me what their defense can't do. Stop the run. When there's a wide open lane, he can't miss it. The problem is, if there's not a wide open lane, he's going to bounce it outside. So, yeah, he looked good playing against the worst run defense in football last year in the second half in Seattle, and a defense in Cincinnati that gave up over 160 rushing yards per game after the injury to DJ Reader. Oh, and yes, of course, he played Baltimore when they were benching half their team. So the production increased because the competition decreased. That's a simple answer. Look at what he did in every game against a good team. And you don't believe that? The last game of the year, the hell did he do against Buffalo? He twinkled toes and ran outside.
Did he? I don't remember, Donkey.
So good luck convincing me that Najee Harris found a special sauce. No, he didn't. He can. If the hole is there before he gets the football, he's a good running back. If the hole isn't there, dude, Najee Harris has some of the worst vision of a running back I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with the vision. I'm not going to disagree with the vision.
And the thing is,
I can't disagree
Artie
with you
Smith's
there.
offense, it will work fine with a running back who has patience and vision, much like Derrick Henry did. I'm not sure Najee's the fit for this based off the offensive line we have today. If we can improve that offensive line and give him big holes, cool. But as of right now, I don't see how we're going to create the holes that Najee needs. I'm looking for an explosion out of Jaylen Warren, and hopefully we draft a back who can step up a little bit. And hopefully Najee does keep running hard, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to be sold on it on a guy who hasn't done it against productive defenses, and on a guy who, Gingy, there's going to be 8 in the box every freaking down this year because the Steelers have no one to throw the damn football to. Currently standing.
Yeah, until we can prove that we have a number 1 receiver, which at this point we don't, in my opinion. I don't know if you consider Pickens a number 1, but I don't.
Bottom tier 1, top tier 2, which is a lot of receivers. I don't consider a lot of 1 receivers in the NFL. But the thing is, if you're going to say a 1 receiver, you're talking top 32. Yeah, he's probably a top 32 guy.
Well, I consider a 1 a guy that can create his own.
So like a top 10. Space. That's what I consider a 1A. Yeah,
okay.
A 1A is a guy who draws a double. I think there's only about 10 of them in the NFL.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm all right with that.
But when you're talking number 1 receivers, remember guys like Amari Cooper's the number 1 receiver. I think Pickens is on par with that level.
Route running? Really?
Pickens is a hell of a lot better catching the football than Amari Cooper. So yeah, Cooper is definitely better in and out of the cut.
I said,
but I would rather throw the ball to. Yeah, that's what I mean. All those guys have a flaw in their game, right? That's why they're not a 1A. Yeah. If they were flawless, they'd be a 1A. But those guys are still 1 receivers. I call them 1B, 2As. But yeah, all those guys fit in there. I mean, Deontay Johnson fits in, well, till the last 2 years fit in that category. But I mean, you're talking. See, this is where I don't know what to say about Najee, because remember, his production last year decreased. His production every year has decreased, which isn't surprising. I mean, his volumes decreased, so his production's decreased. Yada yada yada, boom, right?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I feel the increase in production coming. Yeah, you can say he had best yards per carry last year. But he also had his least amount of carries. He also had less total yards than he's had any year of his career. He's also scored less touchdowns than he has any year of his career. I do think he'll have a better year this year. So I'm not disagreeing fully with you, Gingy. I just don't think you're going to get first-round production out of this guy. That's where I feel we're going to disagree.
Given the way that the Steelers are set up right now, you're 100% right. But that doesn't mean we won't get first-round value. But it's not always about stats, Donkey. He's splitting carries with Jaylen Warren. They are an excellent complement to each other on that offense. They're like peanut butter and jelly. Alone, formidable. Together, unstoppable.
except they've proven to be stoppable. Neither here nor there. Then what do you consider? Then you have to explain to me what you consider first round value, because I've told you what I consider first round value is those big explosive guys, those Christian McCaffrey types, that type of value where you have a single tier productive guy. Maybe the backup does get some, but you're talking a guy who's going to be splash playing it, as you like to say. I'm talking what, 20 plus yard runs. I'm talking the teens at least in touchdowns. I'm talking productivity not only in the running game but the passing game.
1,000 yards.
That's
rushing,
where I see
500 yards receiving.
What'd you say?
Like 1,200 yards rushing, 600 yards receiving.
All right, so Najee Harris has had one 1,200-yard season, if you remember, when he touched 300 times and averaged 4 yards a carry as a rookie. He has never gotten close to 600 yards receiving. As a matter of fact, he has 800 yards receiving in 3 years.
That's what he would need to make first-round value then, Donkey.
And this is where I'm going to have the big question to you. I don't see him improving his receiving numbers.
I don't know. How's that fit into Artie Smith's game? Is he going to be able to do little swing outs out of the backfield and that?
Well, I don't know, because I wish Zoidie was here, because he'll tell you all about his view on Russ Wilson as captain checkdown, as in Russ Wilson will look to see if he can throw the ball deep and then instantly check it down to a running back. So
maybe.
Perhaps.
Unless Jaylen Warren takes that role.
But that's what I was going to say.
Jaylen Warren has hands. Does he?
Jaylen Warren was our best receiver last year, arguably.
Oh, well, there you go then. Perfect. Let's do it. Sign him up.
Like three of our... that's exactly what I'm saying is the things that would need to happen for Najee to become a first-round value, I don't see him doing, because I see Jaylen Warren taking that role. Because a lot of these running backs, what they do great is they're able to catch and run the ball, right? I don't think we're going to put Najee in an area where that's the way he's going to be used. And maybe we do go solo back.
We got to try to move him versus value, or what?
What would I do?
Move him?
I would trade him to Dallas today.
There you go. Okay.
I think you can get a third rounder. I think you can get a third rounder for him. And then what I think is funny is I think you could use a fourth rounder and get the same production that you've gotten out of Najee to this point from someone who, who are some good examples of fourth rounders that I liked recently that turned out to be pretty good? Chuba Hubbard, the Mitchell guy from San Francisco. You want to go back farther than that, you got Alvin Kamara. Those are the type of guys you get in the fourth round, Gingy. And that's why I don't think Najee Harris is ever going to see that first-round production, because he produces fourth-round production. And I think even if he has a good year, he still produces fourth-round production. Because remember, for a running back to have first-round production, you have to be elite. You have to be Derrick Henry for 3 years, Ezekiel Elliott for 4 years. You know, that level of stuff. There's a million guys out there who do what Najee Harris does. And I think that's why we're going to differ. I don't think that Najee will have a bad year if he stays. I think he'll have a great year. I just cannot see Najee producing first-round numbers. And it's nothing against him. He is what he is. If we pick up his option, it is what it is. But he should not be extended. I don't mind the fifth-year option, because it's not... I think it's only like $7 million for a running back or something. Maybe it's between 7 and 15, somewhere in there. So I don't mind that. I think he could be a great player in this system. I just cannot see him being that first-round talent, because he doesn't have the explosiveness of a Raheem Mostert. He doesn't have the explosiveness of the other running back in Miami that I can't think of his name right now, but was even more explosive than Mostert. He doesn't have the explosiveness of Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. And
you're talking about A-Chan down there.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. It's nothing against Najee. It's just watching 3 years of, or watching his Alabama tape, watching 3 years of NFL tape. It's really hard to say that this dude's going to become something that he hasn't already shown, you know?
Yeah, I can get that, Donkey. Let's,
hell,
like I said,
he hasn't even shown what the hell Kerryon Williams shown down there in L.A. last year for the Rams.
Really? What? You don't... That's...
Harrison
That might be a
Williams
stretch.
averaged 130 yards a game last year. He would have led the NFL in rushing if he didn't miss 3 games.
That's production.
Yeah, that dude was ripping it up last year with the Rams.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I'm not even sure he's shown as much as that dude. Is it Penny? The kid? No, not Penny. The kid out of Michigan State that got drafted by Seattle.
Oh, I can't remember the name.
I think you see more production out of that guy. That's where I'm getting at, Gingy. And it's nothing to, because I think your argument's valid, and I said I think we're just going to disagree on this here. It's just I name all these running backs who aren't even first round running backs, and I just think those guys and the production they've already had at some point in their career is the ceiling of what you'll get from Najee Harris. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'll eat my words if I am wrong, and you could be like, "Hey, remember Najee every freaking time?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, dude. You remember how I said Limas Sweed was going to be the greatest second-round pick the Steelers ever had? Because that dude was silky smooth in Texas and then absolutely forgot how to catch the football when he went to the NFL because he has all sorts of anxiety disorders. Yeah, I'll own it when I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to say I'm wrong. Remember when I said, man, Kenny Pickett's going to come in and he's going to take over? Yeah, okay, clearly I was wrong. We already got rid of him. I'm not afraid to
ruin
own up.
Kenny Pickett. I don't think Kenny Pickett was bad. We ruined him.
Me neither. I still think he has a chance at a decent NFL career if he can get over whatever the hell happened to him here with Matt Canada.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's happening, though.
Me neither, but I'm hopeful for him because he was able to get out of the situation. I really still hope. I'm still pulling for Kenny Pickett. I still love Kenny Pickett. Steeler fans can say whatever they want. Y'all know you loved watching those fourth quarter game-winning drives, that moxie that was Kenny Pickett. And, man, I wish him nothing but the best. But I'm not afraid to own up and say, man, I made a huge mistake there. I hope I'm wrong on this one, Gingy. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I hear you. Don't. And at the end of the day, it's in terms of the production you're talking about, it was kind of the discussion that we were talking about with 1 and 1A wide receivers earlier, right? In order to get first round value from a running back, you're talking about an elite guy. Right?
Definitely a top 10 percenter in the league, which means a top 3 guy. Definitely a top 3 guy, in my opinion.
Exactly. So, right, you're not, 100%. That's a very low percentage of guys.
That's the hardest bar to hit, is becoming a first-round value running back in the NFL. Like, first-round values in other positions, I think those bars are a little easier to hit. Like, I think T. Higgins is a guy who's worthy of a first-round pick, right? So, to me, wide receivers who can be 1,000-plus yard guys hit it. Tight ends, maybe tight ends. But to be fair, there's a lot more, in my opinion, first-round tight ends than there are first-round running backs in the league. I guess the spot you could argue with me is I don't think there's a single safety in the league that's worth a first-round pick. I really don't. Safeties and running backs, man. I just don't see the value in those two positions. Think about this. If you draft a safety tomorrow in the first round, what are the odds he's going to be better than Justin Simmons?
Not likely.
Exactly. That's why there's not first-round talent safeties, because if a guy who's been a free agent for over 2 months now is still going to be better than them, are they really worth a first-round pick?
That's tough to say, Donkey.
Yeah, that's my point. That's why I don't think there's first-round safeties. I don't think there's first-round running backs. It's just, I don't think the value's there, because when you get a first rounder, you want a guy who's going to be a decade-long starter. Personally, offensive, defensive line, cornerbacks, wide receivers, and, of course, the most important spot, a quarterback, to me, are where you look first round.
Absolutely. Impact players.
Yeah, Brock Bowers, for example, a tight end. If that leg injury hasn't affected him, Brock Bowers is a first-round talent at tight end.
Someone who's going to touch the ball a lot and make impact plays. Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think we handled that pretty well. I think we saw both sides of the argument, and I'm pretty sure we're still on the, hey, we just view things different. And that's cool. You're allowed to do that. Newsflash, America. you are allowed to see things different than someone and not want to slit their throat for having a different opinion. Just putting it out there. Probably going to get yelled at for YouTube for saying what I just said. The algorithm does not like when you say violent stuff. So, sorry about that.
Important lesson in 2024.
Yeah. Do you want to move on and maybe end this by talking about spring football? The UFL's here. Some fun stuff happened, and a lot of ex-Steelers making news. And Gingy, I know you want to dive right in on that, right?
Oh boy, Brad Wing throwing a tut to destroying. What? What is this? Is that like content? No, that's an actual football league. That's entertainment, donkey.
It is. I don't even know what to say. Like, I watched a kid who apparently wasn't good enough to kick the ball in college kick a 64-yarder, not once because the timeout was called, twice, and drilled it both times. This is what the NFL needs to get into, is getting their fans into a spring league. Because, Gingy, could you imagine if there were some Steeler names in there other than ex-Steelers, guys who are going to be in our off-season workout programs that are out there playing? Like, could you imagine if you destroying was a Pittsburgh Steeler wide receiver? You're like, dude, maybe we found a gem. Could you not get hyped about that?
Hey, yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody would put that on TV, and I'd watch it.
Or how about a guy like, I don't know, Anthony McFarland doing what he did in every preseason? He went out there and showed out again like a guy who maybe belongs in the NFL, maybe not as a top back, but as a backup running back. Giving these guys a chance. AJ McCarron just doing AJ McCarron things again, looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That league, the other league. I don't know how you want to say it. But a guy like Matt Corral, who was injured when he got drafted, was drafted by Carolina, kind of got cut by a bunch of teams. He's getting a chance to go out there and show, and he's a guy a lot of people thought had NFL starter talent, never really got to showcase anything. This is a great second chance for him to perhaps turn around and become, I'm not going to say a great starter, but maybe gets a chance to show teams and then gets a backup job, and maybe he gets to show out like Gardner Minshew.
That's not out of the question.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because it gives guys who didn't have a chance another chance. You get to see some names out there. There are some big names in this league again. Some guys who've had huge years in the NFL. I think Vic Beasley's playing there again. I think Deion Kane made a touchdown catch or something. Brad Wing's out there. Marquette King's out there trying to prove he can still punt the football. There's some fun stuff going on, and it would be a really cool spot for the NFL to try out new rules to see how they impact football games. That's why I would love to see them sponsor with spring football. But I'll be honest, it's as entertaining as anything else you can watch if you're staying at home during a spring day in the summer, I guess. A spring day in the summer. A spring day on the weekend is what I meant to say.
When you're really desperate for football, donkey, yes.
I'm not really desperate. I watch baseball during these times, and I've been having a good time so far this year.
So far, yeah, I've been all right for you.
Yeah, except for today, playing in the snow, not working out so good. But yeah, I enjoy the UFL. I enjoy Brad Wing throwing a touchdown. He gets to say he's thrown a professional touchdown. That's something how many of us get to say in our lifetimes?
Won't be happening for me anytime soon.
Yeah, me neither. So yeah, I enjoy some spring football, I will say. Do you think there's a future in the spring football with the NFL? Or Gingy, I know you want to talk about, you talked about this part. Or do you think the future for the NFL is getting more involved in college?
I don't know, donkey. It's hard to tell where it's going to go the next 3 to 5 years. It depends on how this money sharing all breaks down in college. I know that they have a heck of a product right now. I'm not necessarily deep into to college football, but I know a lot of people are, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But
Gingy,
you know,
one last.
this
Whoop,
when
all
you
you.
were talking, what you said right there in terms of the UFL, or the only other place that the NFL will ever have an opportunity from a farm league, which is what I know they really want, will be from college athletics, and it'll be a showdown with the NCAA. Mark my
Yeah,
words, someday, donkey, it'll come to that.
yeah, I could. I guess I could see that. Uh, there is one last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up here. Did you see the absolute just talent clearing NFL Network's been doing? I think the guy who runs NFL Today, Siciliano or whatever's gone. Like they just cleared house of everybody. Man, the recent cuts in sports media, it's not a good time to try and be a clickbait chaser, huh?
Dang, I don't know. Everything's going internet based, I guess. What?
AI, baby, all robots.
Yikes. Let's. The future is scary for the Steelers and for us all.
Just so we're clear, Gingy might be scared, but I, for one, fully embrace the robot overlords. Please don't put me in your petting zoos.
Yeah,
Gingy, anything
yeah.
else? Anything else you want to cover?
Uh, nope. Good start for the Pirates. Hopefully, can keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you saw it today, but the Jones kid might be my favorite starting pitcher ever for the Pirates. So it's snowing on opening day. This dude walks out in his t-shirt, or in his jersey, no long sleeves, the top two buttons unbuttoned, so you get to see the chest hair flowing out. Bro, tell me
Wow.
something more Pittsburgh than that kid from California.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite the thing.
It was impressive. Gingy, a shout out this week, or it's off season, so nothing from you.
Nah, pass.
My shout out's going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates. A 5-0 start is the best start of my lifetime, Gingy. Last time they did that was 1983, which means best start in your lifetime. And now I'll
Indeed.
let you know. I am the Viking Donkey. That's Viking_Donkey at Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of donkey with Ginger is a YouTube channel where you get all this fun content. Leave us a like, follow, comment about what you'd like to hear about. Otherwise, if Gingy keeps joining, you're going to keep getting 40 minutes of nonsense every week. If Laskers comes, we'll add some more nonsense to the shenanigans that are going on here. Gingy, lead us out.
Mutant Gingy in the house with more unabashed shenanigans. Here we go, Steelers.